Hey Canucks fans, welcome to Clay's Canucks commentary for Monday, January the 14th. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and this is my Canucks take, all in one take. Last night, the Vancouver Canucks handily defeated the visiting Florida Panthers, Roberto Luongo and the Florida Panthers, 5-1. It was a game that you guys know I did a post-game live stream, so some of this will be a bit of a rehash of that. Thank you to everyone who joined me for that after the game last night. Two storylines coming in really was, three actually. Number one was Roberto Luongo. Would this be his last appearance in Vancouver? Number two, what were the Canucks going to do to exact revenge on Mike Matheson for his hit on Elias Pettersson back in October? And number three, the fact that Elias Pettersson wasn't playing once again, not because of the Matheson hit, but because of his more recent injury. Well, the Pettersson injury we can talk about really quick. He skated. He's been skating a lot on the weekend. He will likely skate both these days, Monday, Tuesday. So my guess is that he plays against Edmonton on Wednesday, and if not, at the very latest, Friday against Buffalo. I'll be going to the Buffalo game, but not the Edmonton game. But regardless, I hope to see Pettersson play. The other two storylines, let's talk about them very quickly. Luongo, is it his last game? His last game in Vancouver, given that they only come here once a year. He kind of laughed it off after the game, saying, I don't know where that's coming from. He is 40 years old. His body is breaking down, but he is still a good goaltender, still a bona fide number one goaltender in the league, even though his stats are starting to drop a bit. So I hope, I said last night, I hope that he plays 1 or 2 more years still, and then we get to see him another time, because you want him to play well, but you don't want the Canucks to lose. And I think Luongo played well enough yesterday. He wasn't the best I've ever seen, but he made some great saves, made 2 saves off his head on Brock Besser, made a couple great glove saves. So overall, I thought his game was fine. The 5-1 score was not perfectly accurate because 2 of those were empty net goals. Then you have the Mike Matheson situation. Apparently, guys like Horvat, Beagle, Goodbranson, Roussel, they all tried to engage him, tried to not goad him into a fight, but ask him if he wanted to dance kind of thing. And Matheson repeatedly refused. And I was fine with it. The Canucks did their damage on the scoreboard, 5-1. You don't want to go after a guy, him refuse to fight, then you look like an idiot because you've dropped the gloves, or you're jumping all over him and you're the only one getting a penalty, or you're putting your team in a tough situation. So I know a lot of fans, a lot of media, but mostly fans, they were screaming for Matheson's head or Matheson's blood. But I think the Canucks did what they needed to do in gaining the 2 points, because even though some fans may not believe it, they believe that they are a playoff team, and they didn't want to jeopardize getting those 2 points in any way, whether it be taking a bad penalty, getting thrown out of the game, or whatever it may be. And I think enough time has passed. Matheson sounds like you can disagree with what he said, and you can not believe the fact that he didn't try and hurt Pettersson, but overall his pedigree is not as a dirty player. So they had other guys like that Haley goofball running around trying to cause trouble last night, but really Florida didn't prove much of a match for the Canucks. And I think if you give repeated invitations to Matheson to fight, to stand up for his actions, and he doesn't, what are you going to do? You can't chase it all night. And the Canucks, as the game went on, they played the body on him. They checked him hard. They rubbed him out on the boards. They got into his face during scrums after the whistles. And what more can you expect? What more can you want, as the Canucks wanted to make sure that they won the game first and foremost? So I think the story's done, given that we're not going to see them again this season. And I guess we won't hear much more about it. The fact that we've already played Florida twice. We only play the Eastern Conference teams twice, once in each building. So that story is probably done. A couple other stories really quickly. Nikolai Goudobin only had 9 minutes of ice time. He didn't see a shift after he took a penalty. And then the Panthers didn't score on that power play, but they scored basically 1 second after the power play expired. So after the penalty expired, I should say. So Goudobin was just getting on the ice or just going to the bench or whatever he was doing. So in essence, it was a power play goal, even though it doesn't count as that. The goal went in because the Canucks were indeed shorthanded in their defensive zone. Travis Green, we know he has a short leash. He has Goudobin on a very short leash. And I know many fans like Goudobin. They say he's the 4th leading scorer on the team. But there's another, I think, a growing sentiment of fans, too, that are saying, well, when's he going to get it? Travis Green has tried to develop, practices for him, has given him tough love. And it's worked for other guys like Hutton and Nielsen before he got traded, and Pouliot a little bit, even though Pouliot's still scary when he touches the puck. But it doesn't seem to be working with Goudobin. So something that came up in the live stream yesterday will be very interesting to see as the Canucks move forward. Not only as Pettersson immediately comes back, the Canucks are going to have to make what I just did there. The Canucks will have to make not only a roster move, but also a lineup move when Pettersson gets healthy. And then what happens next year when you expect guys like Jonathan Dahlen to step up and make the team? So that will be an interesting storyline to follow. I know a lot of fans really like Godobin, like what he brings to the team, but he doesn't seem effective despite his decent point total so far. And he's been in a slump, much like many Canucks have been in a slump. One guy who was in a slump was Loui Eriksson. A goal and 2 assists last night. Great 3-point outing for him. It was good to see him get on the board, Granlund get on the board, Beagle get on the board. So some guys that you wouldn't expect, even Ben Hutton, some guys that you wouldn't expect to get on the board did so. So it was an overall, good effort by the team. And yeah, it was funny. Eriksson's first goal when he stole the pass from Mike Hoffman, and then he made that deke around Luongo. Luongo ended up in what I like to call his Luongo pose. You see this many times after a goal, and we saw it many times when he was in Vancouver. Sometimes you don't always see Luongo stretched out or lying on his back or on his stomach after a goal. You see him kind of in that upright position, on his knees, kind of broad and wide, and just kind of looking up. Canucks fans, I know you know the pose I'm talking about. It's just he doesn't on that play. He didn't move laterally that much. Maybe he thought someone was going to cover the net behind him, or maybe he was just shocked that it was such a bad giveaway. But I think you know what I'm talking about. The Luongo pose where after the goal, he's upright on his knees and kind of looking up, just kind of like that. And of course, he didn't. Like I said, he didn't have a bad game, but the Florida Panthers didn't do much to help him. So, just want to say that you can more comments on last night's game was on my live stream, but I wanted to really touch on that really quickly. Luongo, Matheson, Pettersson, the Canucks host the Edmonton Oilers on Wednesday night, game 3 of their 6-game homestand. They are 1-1, and the crazy thing is, despite losing 3 straight before last night, despite having 3 or 4 days off between games, like I've talked about, they have 6 games spread out over 3 weeks. The Canucks still find themselves magically tied for the last wild card spot because the teams around them, Anaheim, Minnesota, and Edmonton, and Arizona even so much, they aren't winning a lot of games. They've kind of been middling like the Canucks have. So that's why the Canucks are still in this playoff race. Now, granted, Minnesota has played 2 or 3 less games, so Minnesota is the rightful wild card holder, but the Canucks by points are tied with both Minnesota and Anaheim. So like I said, the Canucks can still make some hay on this homestand. They got winnable games, Edmonton, Buffalo, Detroit, and Carolina over the next 2 weeks before the All-Star break. Canucks fans, leave a comment below. Tell me what you thought about last night's game. What did you think of Luongo's performance, Godobin's performance? Or were you okay with the pushback or lack of pushback on Mike Matheson? Or maybe you thought it was enough and maybe it is time to move on. Do you agree with me with that sentiment? Leave a comment below. I'd love to read, react, and reply as always. Subscribe if you like to. Like this video if you like to. Enjoy the day. It's beautiful outside. The Canucks play once again on Wednesday, hosting Connor McDavid, hopefully battling the flu, and the Edmonton Oilers. God bless, and go Canucks go.